Hello everyone, wishing you a wonderful day. Today we're going to dive into a gripping story of love, loyalty, and survival as we uncover whether Jack and Tu Tien can overcome the company's financial collapse after serious bridge construction violations left them unable to even pay the bank interest. Will love be enough to carry them through their darkest chapter? If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next videos. After what felt like an endless season of fear, legal pressure, and heartbreak, the day Jack was finally cleared to return home did not arrive with noise or celebration. It came quietly, almost gently, like the first calm morning after a storm that had gone on too long. The investigation into the bridge collapse had not erased everything overnight, and the damage to his company, his reputation, and his peace of mind would not disappear in a single day. But the authorities had reached a point where they no longer needed to keep him under restriction. Fox's direct role in the collapse had become clearer. The chain of responsibility had been separated more carefully, and Jack was allowed to return fully to his life outside. When he stepped back through the door of the house, Tu Tien stood there looking at him as if she still needed one more second to believe he was really home. For a moment, neither of them moved. Too much had happened. Too many nights had passed in fear. Too many tears had already been cried. Then Tu Tien walked toward him, slowly at first and then faster, until she was standing right in front of him. Her eyes were already shining, and before she could even say his name, Jack had wrapped his arms around her. He held her carefully, as if he was afraid she might disappear if he loosened his grip. Tu Tien pressed her face against his chest and closed her eyes. The warmth of him, the steadiness of his breathing, the simple fact that he was standing there and not behind a door or across a guarded table anymore was enough to make her whole body tremble. "I'm home," Jack whispered. That was all it took. Tu Tien's tears slipped out immediately. But these were not the same tears she had cried in the hospital, or in the long, lonely nights when she did not know what would happen to him. These were tears of relief, the kind that come when a person has been holding themselves together for too long and can finally stop pretending to be stronger than they feel. Jack pulled back just enough to look at her face. His eyes moved down instinctively to the hand she had placed over her stomach, then back to her eyes again. "And how are my two people?" he asked softly. Tu Tien gave a small, trembling laugh through her tears. "We've been waiting for you." That evening, the house felt alive again in a way it had not for months. There was no grand celebration, no loud happiness, no attempt to force joy bigger than what they could hold. It was something quieter, more intimate, more precious than that. Jack sat beside Tu Tien and listened as she told him things he had missed. Not the painful legal details or the gossip from outside, but the little things. How the doctor had said the baby was still doing well. How some mornings she had felt sick and exhausted. How she had started talking to the baby when she felt too lonely. How sometimes she would sit quietly and imagine the day Jack would finally come back and place his hand over her stomach for the first time without prison walls between them. When she finished speaking, Jack sat in silence for a moment. Then, with a gentleness that made Tu Tien's eyes fill again, he slowly reached out and rested his hand over her stomach. The gesture was so simple, and yet it felt bigger than anything. His face softened completely. All the strain, the legal exhaustion, the bitterness of the investigation, the anger at what Fook had done, all of it faded for that brief moment. There was only love in his expression now. Love, wonder, and a fragile kind of gratitude. "I'm here now," he said. Tu Tien covered his hand with hers. "Then stay." Jack nodded. "I will." From that point on, life did not become perfect, but it became warmer. For the first time in a long while, they were not fighting from opposite sides of fear. They were together again, sharing the same space, the same meals, the same quiet evenings, and the same hope growing inside Tu Tien's body. Jack became more attentive than ever. He remembered every warning the doctor had given her, and now that he was home, he treated those words like promises he needed to protect. He would not let Tu Tien carry heavy things. He made sure she ate properly, even when she claimed she was not hungry. He watched her face closely when she looked tired. If she stood too long, he told her to sit. If she tried to do too much, he stepped in before she could argue. At first, Tu Tien would laugh and call him overly worried. But secretly, she loved it. Because behind every careful instruction was the same truth. He was trying to make up for all the time he had not been able to be beside her. In the mornings, Jack would wake before her and prepare simple food, wanting the day to begin calmly. In the evenings, he would sit with her outside, one hand resting over hers while they talked quietly about the future. Sometimes they talked about whether the baby would look more like him or her. Sometimes they wondered whether it would be a boy or a girl. Sometimes they argued gently over names, each pretending not to care too much while secretly testing which names made the other smile. Those moments were small, but after everything they had survived, they felt enormous. Some nights, Jack would kneel beside Tu Tien and speak softly to the baby, half joking, half serious. He would promise that no matter what mistakes had happened in the world outside, no matter how broken things had become, he would do everything he could to be a good father from now on. Tu Tien would watch him with quiet eyes, full of love. And for the first time in what felt like forever, the future did not seem made only of fear. Even the house changed with them. The quiet that had once felt painful now became peaceful. The emptiness turned into waiting. Tu Tien would fold baby clothes she had quietly begun to prepare. Jack would notice and pretend not to be emotional, only to hold one tiny item in his hands longer than necessary when he thought she was not looking. They began imagining where the baby would sleep, how they would rearrange things, what kind of life they still might build after so much loss. It was not luxury. It was not certainty, but it was hope. And hope was something they had nearly forgotten how to hold. Then one afternoon, everything changed again. It had started as an ordinary day. Tu Tien had been feeling a little more tired than usual, but nothing too alarming. Jack had told her to rest, and she had promised she would after finishing a few small things around the house. He had stepped out briefly to handle an errand nearby, expecting to be gone only a short while. When he came back, the first thing he noticed was the strange stillness. Then he saw Tu Tien sitting on the edge of the bed, one hand pressed low against her stomach, her face pale in a way that made his heart stop. Tu Tien? He said quickly, moving toward her. She looked up at him, and the fear in her eyes struck him instantly. Jack, she whispered. I don't know why, but my stomach hurts. In 1 second, all the warmth of the past days disappeared from his body and turned into cold panic. He knelt in front of her at once. Since when? Just now, it started suddenly. Her breathing was uneven. One hand was gripping the blanket beside her, the other still pressed protectively against her belly. Jack could see that she was trying not to panic, trying not to make it worse, but he also knew her well enough to recognize when pain had gone beyond what she could hide. Are you dizzy? He asked. She nodded faintly. Jack's entire body tightened. Then he noticed something else, a sign that made his blood run cold. His face changed immediately. Without another word, he lifted Tu Tien carefully and rushed her out. The ride to the hospital felt like a nightmare he could not wake up from. He kept telling her to stay with him, to breathe slowly, to hold on. Tu Tien leaned weakly against him, her hands still over her stomach, tears gathering in the corners of her eyes, not only from pain, but from fear. By the time they reached the hospital, Jack was barely able to think clearly. Doctors and nurses moved quickly. Tu Tien was taken inside for emergency care. Jack was stopped outside while they examined her, and all at once, he found himself back in a place he thought they had left behind forever, waiting, powerless, terrified. He stood there under the hospital lights, his hands trembling, his heart pounding against his ribs like it was trying to break free. The child they had only just begun dreaming about, the child they had already spoken to, already imagined, already loved. Could they really lose that fragile little life now, after surviving everything else? Jack stood outside the emergency room, as if the floor beneath him had disappeared. The bright hospital lights, the hurried footsteps, the low voices of nurses moving past him, all of it blended into one long, unbearable blur. He had been in hospital corridors before. He had stood in places like this, carrying fear, guilt, and helplessness. But this time was different. This time, the fear cut deeper because for the first time since coming home, he had allowed himself to believe that life was finally turning gentle again. He had allowed himself to dream. He had allowed himself to picture the future. And now all of that felt as fragile as glass. Tu Tien had been rushed inside with pain and signs that made the doctors act immediately. No one had explained much yet. No one had told him whether the baby was safe. No one had told him whether the danger had passed. And in that silence, Jack was forced to stand there alone with the worst thoughts his heart could imagine. He kept replaying the afternoon in his mind. The look on Tu Tien's face when he walked in, the way her hand had pressed against her stomach, the fear in her eyes when she whispered that something was wrong. He should have been there sooner. He should not have left her alone. He should have noticed earlier that she had been more tired than usual. His mind turned every second into blame. Every breath felt heavy in his chest. He sat down for a moment, then stood up again almost immediately. Sitting made him feel even more trapped. So he paced the hallway, stopped, looked toward the emergency room doors, then paced again. Every time a nurse appeared, his heart jumped, only to sink again when they walked past without speaking to him. He pressed a hand over his face and shut his eyes. In the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw Tu Tien smiling in the quiet evenings they had shared after he returned home. He saw her gently folding the tiny clothes she had started preparing. He saw the way she laughed when he spoke to the baby in her belly, as if the child could already hear every word. He saw how carefully she had tried to walk, how often she had pressed a hand to her stomach without even realizing it. That child had become real to him in a way that frightened him now, not as an idea, not as a hope, but as someone already living in their hearts. A while later, the doctor finally stepped out. Jack turned so quickly that the chair beside him nearly toppled over. "Doctor," he said, his voice rough, "how is she? How's the baby?" The doctor removed her mask and looked at him with the kind of calm expression that made the weight feel even heavier. Tu Tien had signs of threatened miscarriage, she said. "You brought her in quickly, and that helped." Jack went completely still. Threatened miscarriage. The word struck him so hard he could not breathe for a second. "The baby," he forced himself to ask. The doctor gave a small nod. "At the moment, the baby is still safe." Jack's whole body released a breath at once. But the relief was incomplete, shaky, fragile. "At the moment," he repeated. The doctor's expression remained serious. "She needs strict rest, no stress, no heavy activity, no unnecessary movement. This cannot happen again. Her body is under strain, and if she continues to push herself, the pregnancy could be at real risk." Jack lowered his head for a second, eyes closing tightly. "Can I see her?" "Yes," the doctor said, "but keep her calm. She needs stability more than anything now." When Jack entered the room, Tu Tien was lying still against the white pillow, her face pale and exhausted. Seeing her there made something twist painfully inside him. She looked so small in that hospital bed, one hand resting over her stomach, as if even in sleep she was trying to protect the baby. Jack moved to her side and sat down quietly. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then he reached for her hand. Tu Tien's eyes slowly opened. The moment she saw him, The fear in her expression softened, but only a little. It was still there, trembling under everything else. "Jack," she whispered. "I'm here," he said immediately. "I'm right here." Her fingers tightened weakly around his. "The baby?" she asked. Jack swallowed hard, then leaned closer. "The doctor said the baby is still safe." Tu Tien shut her eyes, and tears slipped quietly from the corners. Not loud tears, not dramatic sobs, just the tears of someone who had been holding on to fear too tightly for too long. Jack used his free hand to gently wipe one away. "But," he continued softly, "you have to rest. Really rest this time. No more pretending you're fine. No more doing too much. No more doing too much. No more trying to be stronger than your body can handle." Tu Tien gave the faintest, tired breath of a laugh through her tears. "You sound angry." "I'm scared," Jack said. That made her open her eyes again. There was no hesitation in him now. No attempt to hide behind calm words or a controlled face. "I was terrified," he said, his voice low and uneven. "When I saw you sitting there holding your stomach like that, I thought..." He stopped, unable to finish. Tu Tien watched him in silence. Jack looked down at their joined hands. "I thought I was going to lose both of you." The room went still around them. For a second, even the faint hospital sounds beyond the door seemed far away. Tu Tien's eyes filled again. She lifted her hand slightly, wanting to reach for him more fully, but even that small movement looked tiring. Jack noticed immediately and leaned closer so she would not have to strain herself. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Jack shook his head at once. "No, don't do that. I scared you. You don't have to apologize for being in pain. But I told you I'd be careful." Jack looked at her, and the pain in his face softened into something gentler. "I know you tried," he said, "but trying isn't enough anymore. We have to change how we live from now on." Tu Tien stayed quiet. Because she knew he was right, the last few days at home had felt peaceful, but they had both been fooling themselves a little. They were happy. Too happy, perhaps, to notice how fragile everything still was. Jack had come home, and they had started imagining a future again. In that happiness, maybe both of them had wanted to believe the worst was already over, but her body had reminded them that some storms do not end just because people are tired of suffering. "Doctor said strict rest," Jack continued. "That means strict rest, not a little rest, not resting after you've already done too much. I mean really resting." Tu Tien let out a slow breath. "You're going to watch me every minute, aren't you? If I have to." That actually made her smile, though faintly. Jack saw it and felt something loosen in his chest for the first time since reaching the hospital. Then Tu Tien's expression changed again, growing more fragile. "Jack," she said softly, "what if next time we're not this lucky?" The question cut straight through him. He wanted to answer instantly. He wanted to say there would be no next time, that everything would be fine, that he would protect her, protect the baby, protect the little future they had started building in their hearts. But this time, he did not offer words he could not guarantee. Instead, he held her hand more firmly and said, "Then we make sure there is no next time." Tu Tien looked at him quietly. "I'm serious," he said. "No more carrying anything. No more housework that can wait. No more pushing through tiredness. If something needs to be done, I'll do it. If it doesn't need to be done, it can stay undone." She blinked slowly. "And if you get called back in for more investigation?" That question brought reality back into the room at once. Because even now, with her in the hospital bed and the baby finally declared safe for the moment, their lives still stood on uncertain ground. Jack had been released, yes, but the investigation had not fully ended. He was not completely free of the case. He still had responsibilities, pressure, unfinished legal trouble, and the shadow of everything Phuc had done hanging over him. Jack was quiet for a moment before answering. Then until that happens, I'll do everything I can. And if it does happen... He paused, then looked directly at her. I'll find a way to make sure you're not carrying this alone again. Tu Tien watched him carefully. There was something different in him now. Not just guilt, not just fear. Resolve, the kind that comes after a person is frightened so deeply that they no longer want to leave anything to chance. Later that night, after Tu Tien had fallen asleep, Jack remained sitting beside her bed. The room was dimmer now, quieter. He watched the slow rise and fall of her breathing, then looked down at the hand still resting over her stomach. It struck him then just how much had changed in such a short time. Not long ago, he had been fighting to walk free again. Then he had been fighting to come home. And now, sitting beside the woman he loved while their unborn child slept quietly beneath her heartbeat, he understood that everything in his life had narrowed into one simple truth. Nothing mattered more than protecting them. Not pride, not reputation, not even the wreckage of what his old life had been. When Tu Tien stirred awake for a moment sometime before dawn, she found him still there. You haven't slept, she murmured. Jack shook his head slightly. I'm fine. She looked at him with sleepy affection and sadness. You always say that. He managed the faintest smile. Maybe because I don't know what else to say. Tu Tien moved her fingers slightly until they found his. After a quiet moment, she whispered, Do you think I can keep the baby? Jack leaned closer at once. Yes, he said. There was no hesitation, no doubt in his voice, only certainty, whether borrowed from hope or born from desperation. Even he didn't know. Yes, he repeated more softly. You can. We can. We can. Tu Tien's eyes filled again, but this time she did not cry. She just held on to his hand and closed her eyes once more, as if those words were enough to let her rest. And as morning slowly began to lighten the hospital room, only one question remained hanging over them. Had they truly escaped the worst? Or was this only another warning before fate asked even more from the little family they were trying so hard to protect?